You weren't meant to find this by accident. The fact that you're watching this right now, in this exact moment, is itself one of the signals. Your quantum breakthrough isn't approaching, it's already anchored. What you're experiencing right now, this final phase, this isn't preparation. This is confirmation. Not spiritual optimism, not hopeful thinking. This is the verifiable signature of quantum completion. When reality shifts from one state to another, it doesn't happen in silence. It leaves traces, it creates ripples. And you're here because those ripples have reached you. Over the next hour, I'm going to decode the 3 unmistakable markers of what I call the quantum finalization sequence. We won't just name them. We'll explore the actual mechanics of why they emerge. And critically, I'll hand you the exact framework to engage with this process consciously, to shift from being someone swept along by the current to becoming the navigator who guides the final approach into your transformed existence. The underlying physics here is called quantum decoherence. This is the mechanism through which the field of limitless probability, what we call the quantum wave function, solidifies into one definite, tangible reality. Picture a photograph emerging in chemical solution. Initially, there's only potential. Then a hazy, indistinct form begins to appear. A blended state where the old image and the new one exist simultaneously. This is where you are right now. You're watching the new form crystallize into sharp definition, while the previous one dissolves into the background. You're restless because you're positioned inside the very machinery of manifestation. You sense proximity and distance at the same time, because the transformation is 99% finalized. But that remaining 1%, that ultimate settling into place, holds the deepest intensity. If this concept that you're in the final confirmation phase resonates more powerfully than anything you've encountered, press the like button right now. It's a declaration to yourself and to the field that you're prepared to anchor this fully. Let me be direct about the particular suffering of this concluding phase. It's a specific kind of spiritual anguish that rarely gets acknowledged. It's the experience of running a marathon, watching the finish line appear. But with each stride forward, it seems to remain exactly the same distance away. You're caught in a brutal oscillation between moments of absolute, undeniable certainty where you can practically inhabit your transformed reality, and then hours later, you're thrown into suffocating doubt that makes you question your entire journey. You catch the small indicators, the meaningful coincidences, the gentle confirmations from the universe, a lyric that speaks directly to you, a repeating number sequence. But then your current circumstances come flooding back with force, an unpaid bill, a challenging interaction, a mirror reflection that feels like the person you're trying to leave behind. And suddenly you're questioning your perception. You wonder if you've constructed an illusion. And then there's the weariness. It's a bone-deep exhaustion, a sensation that you cannot maintain this elevated state for even one more moment. You've been so committed, so intentional. You've practiced meditation, written your scripting, visualized with precision, and affirmed until your consciousness felt strained. And now you're simply depleted. You feel a seductive pull to release everything, to collapse not into your new reality, but back into your old one, purely because it's known and demands less sustained effort. Listen carefully. These sensations are not indicating failure. They're not proof that you've missed the mark. They are the scientifically anticipated responses of the finalization sequence. They're the resistance generated when a higher frequency reality presses against the mechanisms of the lower one, forcing its dissolution. So when you ask how to recognize that your breakthrough is imminent, it's through learning to interpret these final expressions of exhaustion, turbulence, and uncertainty, not as warnings to stop, but as the friction sounds of the old paradigm grinding to its conclusion. To grasp this, we need a different metaphor. Imagine your breakthrough, the existence you've been cultivating, is contained within an enormous quantum vault. The door is reinforced, massive, and sealed. The work you've invested over months or perhaps years, the shadow work, the releasing, the embodiment, the visualization, that was you entering the precise sequence of the combination lock. Number by number, you rotated the mechanism, sensed the subtle engagement, and advanced to the next digit. You completed the work. The sequence has been input accurately. This is essential to understand. Your task is not to continue entering numbers. Your task is not to force the handle or attempt to pry the door. Your task now is to witness, because when the accurate combination enters a high-security mechanism, an internal system initiates. Deep within the structure, enormous components, which represent the core quantum moments of your emerging reality, begin their alignment and movement. And as each component locks into its designated position, it produces a resonance, a profound, unmistakable click. The signals appearing in your experience, the chaos, the synchronicities, the unexpected stillness, these are the clicks of those internal components. They're the audible, physical verification that the mechanism you activated is completing its programmed cycle. The pressure you're feeling is the tremendous force accumulating within the lock just before the securing bolts withdraw, and the massive door of your dimensional transition opens wide. By this video's conclusion, you will transform from being the anxious, hopeful individual with your awareness pressed against the cold metal, desperately hoping you entered the sequence correctly, into becoming the grounded, validated observer who recognizes the pattern of clicks instinctively. You will identify each resonance for what it represents, not interference, but verification. You will comprehend that the sequence is automatic and incapable of malfunction. You will know with complete conviction that the breakthrough isn't merely approaching. It has already been established, and you are simply observing the final, magnificent, mechanical expression of a reality you've already generated. You will step into active participation, not through increased effort, but through consciously acknowledging the completion of your transformed existence. You will embody calmness. You will embody certainty. You will embody arrival. To comprehend what's unfolding for you, you must first embrace a challenging truth. A reality transformation is not a singular event. It is an unfolding process. It's not the instantaneous flip from darkness into light. It's the gradual, intentional, and frequently disorienting process of one star descending below the horizon as another one ascends, generating a transitional period where shadows extend and forms become ambiguous. At the quantum stratum, your present reality is an exceptionally stable, prevailing wave configuration. It's a frequency that has transmitted continuously for years, potentially for decades. Every dimension of your existence, your vocation, your connections, your vitality, your self-concept resonates in alignment with this foundational wave. It's anticipated, it's familiar. But through your internal dedication, through your commitment to a transformed state of being, you've accomplished something remarkable. You've initiated a new wave, a new frequency. This new wave configuration of your intended reality started as a barely perceptible signal, a subtle resonance underneath the static of your previous existence. But as you nourished it with your attention, your emotional investment, and your embodiment. It expanded in strength. It amplified in intensity. Now it's no longer a subtle resonance. It's a transmission potent enough to contest the previous one for supremacy. The phase you're inhabiting right now is the predictable outcome of this dynamic. It's the interval of interference. Envision two powerful sound waves intersecting. They don't simply blend. They generate a third, frequently discordant and unsettling frequency. They create instances of constructive interference where experiences feel intensified and enchanted, and instances of destructive interference where everything appears to neutralize into silence and disorientation. This is the disturbance you're sensing in your existence. This is the turbulence. You're existing within the interference configuration generated by two realities competing for the identical space-time location. One instant, you receive a transparent signal from your future, a synchronicity, a revelation, a sensation of absolute certainty. The next instant, you're inundated by the static of the previous reality defending its existence, carrying with it previous anxieties, previous patterns, and recognizable constraints. You're attempting to calibrate a frequency dial to a new station, and you're suspended in the interference between channels. This interval isn't evidence that the process has stalled. It is the physical, measurable confirmation that it's functioning with such force that the structure of your reality is being reconstructed in real time. This complete process is what I term the quantum finalization sequence. It's not a mystical examination from the cosmos. It's an anticipated, physics-governed progression. It's the universe's organic methodology for guaranteeing that a new reality is stable, unified, and energetically sustainable before it becomes your primary, prevailing experience. The sequence is a protective mechanism designed to prevent a devastating collapse of your experiential dimension. It guarantees the transition has integrity. The quantum finalization sequence contains three separate and sequential stages. Stage 1 is dissolution. This is the methodical deconstruction of the energetic framework of your previous reality. Stage 2 is frequency verification. This is where the new reality transmits exploratory signals like sonar to examine the channels to your awareness and calibrate its manifestation. And stage 3 is zero-point recalibration. This is the final, silent interval before the new reality activates completely and becomes your physical residence. We will examine each of these stages thoroughly. But first, you must comprehend the fundamental reason for all your distress during this transition. You're misreading every single indicator. Your human survival mechanism, the biological programming that has preserved you throughout your entire existence, is not designed to interpret quantum mechanics. It's conditioned to perceive chaos as danger. It registers loss as peril. It interprets emptiness as evidence of termination. So when the finalization sequence commences, your consciousness activates every warning system, persuading you that you're failing, that you've executed something incorrectly, or that your aspiration is unattainable. Let me be precise. Stage 1 of the sequence, dissolution, frequently appears as an abrupt loss. A career position you considered permanent suddenly terminates. A relationship that shaped your identity for years disintegrates without notice. A belief framework you constructed your existence around fractures into fragments. Your survival mechanism screams catastrophe. It processes this as a devastating failure, evidence that you're moving away from your objective. But the quantum interpretation exposes the reality. The high-frequency energy of your new reality is a dissolving agent. It's energetically incompatible with coexisting alongside the dense, low-frequency constructs of your history. That position, that relationship, that belief, they were tethers to your previous timeline. They required dissolution. It's not a loss, it's a deliberate demolition. This is among the most transparent indicators before a quantum transformation. The old dimension appears to resist, but it's merely the sound of its dismantling. Reflect on a recent instance of chaos or disruption in your experience. What if you recontextualize that not as a reversal, but as the sound of the previous reality's infrastructure being deconstructed? What shifts when you perceive it through that lens? Then arrives stage 2, frequency verification, which frequently manifests as an influx of unusual synchronicities. You hold intention for a new vocation in a particular domain, and suddenly every individual you encounter works in that domain. You desire to relocate to a new city, and you observe its name on vehicles, in publications, or hear it in spontaneous conversations multiple times in a single day. Your consciousness, programmed to perceive the dimension as random, categorizes this as coincidence or selective perception. You might think, that's intriguing, but it's not the actual materialization. You misinterpret it as provocation. The quantum reality is that these are information transmissions. Your future reality is sending signals to your present consciousness, examining the connection and integrating its symbols into your environment to normalize their presence. It's establishing the pathway just before the train arrives. Finally, there's the most misinterpreted indicator of all, the void or 0-point recalibration. This is an interval where everything simply halts. Your inspiration evaporates, the synchronicities vanish, the chaos diminishes. There's no forward propulsion. There's only stillness, emptiness, and perhaps even a profound sensation of neutrality. Your consciousness interprets this as the ultimate failure. It determines, I've severed the connection. I'm on the incorrect path. The universe has abandoned me. It feels like collapse. It feels like the termination. But from a quantum interpretation, this is the most sacred instant in the complete process. It's the silence between the inhale and the exhale. It's the instant the previous reality has completely dematerialized, and the new one is accumulating energy just beyond perception, preparing to make its magnificent entrance. It's a system initialization. The field is being cleared for a pristine installation of your new reality. Do you perceive the configuration? Every signal of advancement, every verification of the finalization sequence is systematically misinterpreted by your conditioned consciousness as evidence of failure. This is the origin of the torment. It's the cognitive contradiction between the truth of the physics and the interpretation of your fear. This guides us to the new framework, the profound shift in your methodology that you must implement immediately. Your work is no longer to attempt to repair the complications that surface. The position termination is not a complication to be repaired. The emptiness is not a void to be occupied. The synchronicities are not clues to be frantically pursued. These are not occurrences happening to you. They are encoded transmissions being dispatched from your future reality, verifying that its arrival is imminent and scheduled. Your new directive is to cease being a victim of the storm and to become the meteorologist who interprets the data. You're no longer here to endure the transition. You're here to translate it. Every instant of chaos is a verification. Every loss is a verification. Every interval of silence is a verification. Cease attempting to repair the old structure while the new one is being constructed around you. Instead, begin interpreting the architecture. This shift in interpretation removes you from the energy of resistance and positions you in the power of allowance. It concludes the struggle. It dissolves the fear, because you finally comprehend that the unsettling indicators are not obstacles on your pathway. They are the pathway itself. For years, perhaps a lifetime, you've functioned under a single draining assumption that your breakthrough is something you're still constructing, that you're the vault technician on your knees, awareness pressed against the cold steel, straining to detect the final click, terrified that a single incorrect movement will reset the complete mechanism. You believe your work is to continue entering the sequence, to continue applying force, to maintain the frequency of your intention through pure white-knuckled determination. This belief is the source of all your depletion. It's the foundation of your uncertainty, and it is fundamentally inaccurate. We are now arriving at the profound revelation of this complete transmission, the one paradigm transformation that, once completely absorbed, will alter not what you do, but who you're being as you do it. I need you to draw breath and receive this not merely with your intellect, but with the complete intelligence of your physical form. The central paradox is this: you believe you're still in the process of generating the breakthrough. The reality is the generative act is finalized. It is accomplished. The instant you, for the first time, genuinely and completely embodied the energetic signature of your new reality, the sensation of the wish already fulfilled, you collapsed the quantum wave function. In that instant, in the realm of infinite potential where reality is born, the decision was established. The architecture was authorized. The command was transmitted and accepted. The combination to the vault was not just entered, it was secured. What you're experiencing now is not the act of generation. You're experiencing the delay. You're observing the physical, three-dimensional dimension, with all its density and resistance, synchronizing to a quantum reality that already exists. It's the reverberation of a thunderclap that has already occurred. It's the illumination from a star that has already ignited, finally reaching your perception after a prolonged journey through space. Your work is not to continue generating the thunder. Your work is to simply observe the reverberation as it travels through your landscape. So if you're questioning what transpires before a materialization, this is the most critical component. You shift from attempting to make it occur to recognizing it has already occurred. This single piece of information, once it genuinely integrates, transforms everything about how you navigate these final stages. First, it signifies your work is no longer to maintain the vibration through pure force of determination. This is the guidance that has generated more spiritual depletion than any other. You cannot maintain a frequency constantly with your conscious awareness. It's like attempting to submerge a beach ball perpetually underwater. The relief is knowing you don't have to. The quantum reality of your new existence is maintaining itself. Your singular task is to return to the knowing of it, to remember it, not to continuously generate it from nothing. You can release the beach ball. It will surface on its own. Second, this signifies the indicators you observe. The chaos, the synchronicities, the emptiness are not an examination to determine if you're worthy. They're not the universe presenting a reward to see if you'll react. This is a profound misunderstanding of a benevolent and organized system. The indicators are simply the physics of the transition. They're the informational residue of the previous reality dissolving and the new one crystallizing. They're receipts, verifications, tracking notifications for a delivery that has already been dispatched. There's no judgment connected to them. What if the breakthrough you've been pursuing isn't an occurrence you need to generate in the future, but a quantum occurrence that has already transpired and is now simply revealing itself to you? Let that sensation permeate. Third, this signifies you can relax. Genuinely, you can release the frantic energy of attempting to manage every thought, every sensation, every circumstance, fearing that one incorrect movement will derail the complete process. You have moved beyond the point of derailment. The train has already been redirected to the new track and is accumulating momentum. You are not the engine. You are the passenger in the premium cabin, sensing the vibration of the journey homeward. Fourth, this signifies any perceived reversal is actually evidence of advancement. When a component of your previous existence crumbles unexpectedly, you are not failing. You are observing the successful demolition of a structure that cannot exist on the new timeline. You are witnessing the undeniable proof that the new reality's frequency is so powerful. It is literally fracturing the old dimension apart. The reversal is not a step backward. It is the sound of the old foundation fragmenting to make space for the new. And finally, this signifies you can't execute it incorrectly at this stage. Absorb that again. You cannot execute it incorrectly. The fear of self-sabotage is the final phantom of the old paradigm. You believe that one instant of doubt or an old fear configuration can negate years of work. It cannot. The quantum occurrence is secured. A transient thought from the previous timeline is like a piece of unsolicited mail delivered to your old address. It has no power over you unless you depart your new residence, travel back to the old address, and decide to make that unsolicited mail your new reality. It is simply old information, a reverberation with no source. This understanding demands a fundamental shift in your methodology. Your task now is to move from the identity of active generator to a state of active allowance. This is not passivity. Passivity is abandonment. Active allowance is the confident, calm, sovereign observation of a master who has issued a command and knows with absolute conviction that it is being executed. You cease forcing the river. The river is already flowing in the direction you commanded. Your task now is simply to navigate your vessel, to make minor adjustments, to appreciate the landscape as you are transported by the powerful current you yourself generated. You observe, you allow, you approve. This brings us to the final and most crucial transformation required in this phase, an identity transformation. As long as you perceive yourself as a spiritual seeker or a manifester, you are, by definition, perpetuating a state of absence. A seeker is one who has not yet discovered. A manifester is one who is still in the act of generating. Both identities are rooted in the belief that it is not yet present. These identities served you effectively. They brought you this far, but they cannot accompany you across the threshold. To finalize the finalization sequence, you must consciously release these identities. You must cease being the vault technician. You must cease being the constructor. You must now completely embody the identity of the resident of your new reality. The seeker is anxious, constantly scanning the horizon for indicators, asking, is it functioning? The resident is calm, noticing the indicators as verifications, stating, of course, it is accomplished. The seeker feels the need to execute rituals to make something occur. The resident executes rituals to celebrate what has already occurred. The seeker exists in a state of hope. The resident exists in a state of knowing. You are no longer the individual hoping to enter the residence. You are the owner observing the movers transport your belongings. Your singular task is to indicate and state that belongs there. You are simply observing your new residence being prepared for your permanent occupation. You are already residing. This revelation isn't abstract. It is not a philosophical comfort. It is a physical principle. And like any principle in physics, it leaves tangible, verifiable evidence in your three-dimensional dimension. Your new reality, which has already been generated at the quantum stratum, is leaving impressions on the window of your perception. Right now, you are not waiting for it to occur. You are a detective learning to recognize the evidence of a beautifully orchestrated occurrence that is already finalized. In a moment, I will reveal to you the three primary indicators, the three most common quantum impressions of the quantum finalization sequence. You are experiencing at least one of them, and once you learn to perceive them not as complications to be resolved, but as verifications to be acknowledged, everything transforms. The fear dissolves, the anxiety ceases, and you become the calm, centered observer to the inevitable arrival of your own generation. The first indicator is the most dramatic and frequently the most misunderstood. It is termed the dissolution. This is the sudden, frequently shocking collapse of what you considered a stable, permanent component of your previous existence. It can be a position that evaporates overnight, a relationship that terminates without warning, a belief framework that fractures in a single instant of clarity. From the outside and to your survival mechanism, this appears as loss. It appears as failure. It appears as a catastrophic reversal. But from a quantum interpretation, it is nothing of the sort. This is not loss. This is energetic demolition. The scientific principle here is one of frequency, resonance, and decoherence. The new reality you have secured vibrates at a profoundly higher frequency than your previous one. When this new, powerful signal begins to stabilize and transmit into your physical experience, it functions as a dissolving agent to the lower frequency constructs of your history. They are energetically incompatible. They cannot coexist in the identical space-time location. The old constructs, held together by the adhesive of your old identity, simply cannot maintain their structural integrity. They must, by the laws of physics, dissolve. Consider the narrative of a client, a legal professional who had invested a decade constructing a perfect career. She was respected. She was secure. She generated a tremendous amount of wealth. But she was profoundly, silently unfulfilled. Her soul's genuine intention was to be an environmental steward, to work with the natural world. For years, she executed the internal work, meditating on this new reality, sensing the wind on her face, the earth in her hands. She reached the point of internal knowing. It felt accomplished. Then the dissolution commenced. A corporate restructuring that no one anticipated completely eliminated her entire department. Her secure position, her identity, her decade-long plan, it was gone in a single afternoon. Her logical consciousness screamed in terror. This was a disaster. But underneath the panic, there was a strange, quiet resonance, a sensation that was almost liberation. That is how you identify it. The dissolution feels less like a tragedy and more like a strange, hollow inevitability. When the old constructs fall away, there is fear, yes, but it is accompanied by an uncanny sense of lightness, of freedom. It doesn't feel like something was extracted from you. it feels like an enormous weight has been lifted. You are not observing a demolition you didn't authorize. You are observing the scheduled, necessary clearing of a construction location to make space for the structure you have already designed. What we've explored today about this finalization sequence is just one layer of a much deeper quantum architecture. If you're sensing that this transmission is awakening something in you, that there's more to understand about how to shift from being the one who seeks to being the one who transmits, I've mapped out the complete system in my book, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery. It takes you through the 9 master frequencies that transform you from someone trying to manifest reality to someone who becomes the broadcast itself, moving from survival static into coherent transmission. It's linked in the pinned comment below. The second quantum impression is more subtle but equally powerful. It is termed the resonance. This is an interval where you are flooded with synchronicities, symbols, numbers, and conversations that are all directly and undeniably connected to your new reality. But here is the crucial distinction. They feel strangely neutral. They lack the emotional intensity, the magical spark you would anticipate. They don't feel like miracles. They feel like data. This is not a magical examination from the universe. This is frequency verification. Scientifically, what is transpiring is that your new reality is beginning to signal your conscious awareness. It is transmitting low-energy information transmissions into your perceptual field to examine the pathways, to verify the connection is stable. The very lack of emotional intensity is the most powerful verification you can receive. Why? Because high emotion is associated with things we desire, but feel separated from. The wonder of a miracle is rooted in its improbability. When these indicators appear without that emotional spike, it is proof that your subconscious consciousness is normalizing the new reality. It's no longer a distant, fantastical aspiration. It's becoming a simple, observable reality. Take a moment and comment below which of these 3 indicators, the dissolution, the resonance, or the void, you have been experiencing. Let's generate a powerful collective testimony in the comments. I read every single one. Envision a man whose profound intention is to relocate to a small coastal town in Portugal. He has executed the work. He has sensed the reality of it. Now the resonance commences. In one day, he walks past a travel agency, and the poster in the window displays the exact town he intends. He activates the radio, and a Portuguese fado song is playing. An old friend contacts him unexpectedly to mention they are learning Portuguese on an application. He opens a book, and a character is consuming a pastel de nata. The previous model of manifestation would instruct him to become excited, to perceive this as a magical indicator and amplify the emotion. But he notices something unusual. He feels nothing. He simply observes it. Ah, there it is again. Intriguing. It feels mundane, factual, like observing a red vehicle after you've decided to purchase a red vehicle. That is how you identify the resonance. The sheer volume, frequency, and specificity of the indicators are statistically impossible to disregard. It is a transparent signal. Yet your emotional reaction is muted, calm, almost detached. You are not reacting like a hopeful seeker perceiving an indicator from the heavens. You are reacting like a project manager observing checklist items being completed. The data is arriving. The connection is stable. The system is normalizing. It is functioning. The third indicator is the most profound, the most unnerving, and the one that causes more individuals to abandon just before the door opens than any other. It is termed the void. The void is an interval of profound stillness, emptiness. It can even feel like neutrality. Your inspiration evaporates. The synchronicities halt. The outer dimension appears to fall silent. Nothing is transpiring. There is no forward propulsion. To the ego, which thrives on progress and action, this feels like absolute failure. It feels like you've been abandoned, like the connection has been severed and you are on the incorrect path. This is not stagnation. This is not the termination. This is 0-point recalibration. This is perhaps the most advanced quantum concept we will discuss. This is the instant between the waves. It is the silent gap where the dominant wave configuration of your previous reality has completely dematerialized, and the wave configuration of your new reality is about to completely materialize. The quantum field has returned to a state of 0 point, a state of pure potential, in order to recalibrate your complete energetic system to the precise set point of your new reality. It is the cosmic pause while the system initializes with a new operating system. It is the absolute silence in a performance hall the instant before the symphony commences. Reflect on an artist who had been frantically painting, pouring all of her energy and intention for a solo gallery exhibition onto the canvas. She executed the work, embodied the sensation of success, and then the void arrived. For 3 weeks, she couldn't even regard a paintbrush. She felt empty of concepts, devoid of passion. She was convinced she had lost her gift permanently. The silence was deafening. This, she thought, was the ultimate proof of her failure. She surrendered. She ceased attempting to force it. And in that stillness, something new began to form. A completely new style, a new vision emerged in her mind's eye, completely formed. It was unlike anything she had ever created. 2 weeks later, a gallery owner she had never encountered contacted her, having observed an old piece of her work online, and offered her an exhibition, stating they were seeking something new and revolutionary. That is how you identify the void. It is a state of perfect, unnerving neutrality. There is no backward slide into the previous reality, but there is no apparent forward propulsion either. It feels like a cosmic pause mechanism has been activated on your existence. Your drive vanishes, but so does your despair. It is an empty state, but it is not a negative state. It is the stillness of absolute power accumulating itself before it expresses itself as your new dimension. If you are in the void, do not panic. Do not attempt to occupy it. Be still. You are closer than you have ever been. The dissolution, the resonance, the void. These are not obstacles. They are not examinations. They are the quantum impressions of a future that has already transpired. They are the reverberations of a bell that has already been sounded. They are the receipt for a transaction that is already finalized. You comprehend it. You have witnessed the evidence in your own existence. Now it is time to cease analyzing and begin finalizing. It is time to move beyond intellectual conviction and into the absolute cellular certainty that it is accomplished. This is not another visualization to generate something in the future. This is a ceremony of acceptance for what has already been generated. This is the instant you consciously rotate the final key in the lock. So discover a space where you can be undisturbed for the next few minutes. Sit upright in a manner that feels both relaxed and dignified. And when you are prepared, gently close your eyes. Let's execute the finalization ceremony. Draw a deep breath in, filling your lungs completely. And as you exhale, release the identity of the seeker. Release the component of you that has been striving and hoping and working with such intensity. Let it all dissolve. Another deep breath in, and as you exhale, release the need to comprehend how this functions. Release the analytical consciousness that desires to map every step. You have already executed the analysis. That work is finalized. Now bring your awareness away from the noise of your thoughts. Let it descend down through the layers of emotion, past the currents of sensation, and into the vast, silent field of pure consciousness that exists behind it all. This is the quantum field. This is the womb of all generation. And in this space, I want you to sense for the reality you have chosen. Do not attempt to visualize it with your mind's eye. Do not attempt to construct it with your imagination. That is the work of the generator, and your generative act is finished. Instead, I want you to sense its existence as a completed energetic structure. It is already here. It is a solid, finished quantum reality waiting for you to occupy it. Sense its presence. It might feel like a gentle pressure, a subtle warmth, a magnetic pull, or simply a deep, unshakable knowing. It is as real as the chair you are positioned on. It is a dimension that has been completely constructed. Sense its stability, its permanence. It is not a possibility you are hoping for. It is a destination where you have already arrived. Stay with this sensation, the sensation of a quantum occurrence that is already finalized. Now, from this place of certainty, from within this new reality, let us look back. Let us observe the final stages of the transition, not as current occurrences filled with anxiety, but as memories, the final memories of a journey that is now concluded. Bring to your awareness the memory of the dissolution. Remember that instant when a component of your old dimension suddenly collapsed, the position, the relationship, the belief framework that dissolved into nothing. From this new vantage point, perceive it for what it was, the necessary demolition of a structure that could not exist in the new reality you now inhabit. Sense the profound relief that this demolition is in the past. It is a historical occurrence. Thank it for making space for what is now real. Now bring to your awareness the memory of the resonance. Remember the flood of synchronicities, the strange and persistent symbols that appeared everywhere, the conversations, the numbers, the words that mirrored your intention. From here, perceive them not as hopeful indicators of a future to arrive, but as the frequency examinations of a reality that was finalizing its connection to your consciousness. They were the system verifications confirming the pathway was clear. Sense the deep peace of knowing those examinations are finalized. The connection is stable. It is accomplished. Finally, bring to your awareness the memory of the void. Remember that interval of stillness, of emptiness, of unnerving neutrality, the cosmic pause. From this place of arrival, sense it for what it was, the sacred silence between the final note of the old symphony and the first note of the new one. It was the 0-point recalibration, the instant the complete quantum field held its breath, prepared to render your new dimension into form. Sense the profound gratitude for that stillness. It was the final instant of pure potential right before it solidified into this, right here, right now. The journey is finalized. The evidence has been reviewed. The memories are cataloged. The past is now genuinely the past. Bring your complete awareness to the center of your being. Sense the energy of your physical form, the space you occupy. You are the owner of this new reality. You established the combination long ago. and now you are simply present for the final automated mechanism of the lock engaging. Sense for a subtle vibration constructing in your energy field, a resonant hum that signals the final alignment. The great components of reality, which you set into motion, are now falling into their final, perfect sequence. Listen. Sense. There is a subtle shift, a settling, a finality that descends into every cell of your physical form. The components align, the mechanism engages, and there it is, a click. It might be a sensation. It might be an internal sound. It might be a wave of peace that washes over you. But it is distinct. It is undeniable. It is the sound of the great door of the quantum vault securing into its permanent closed position. Not securing you out, securing you in, sealing you inside the reality you have chosen. The negotiation is concluded. Sense the shift, the subtle but profound transformation in the very quality of the energy around you and within you. The striving is gone. The hoping is gone. The anxiety of the process is gone. All that remains is the quiet, stable, unshakable peace of being here, of being home. This is your new residence. Sense what it feels like to simply be here. Not arriving, but having already arrived. Not achieving, but simply inhabiting. This is your new baseline. As you sit in this new residence, in this finished reality, what single word or sensation describes its undeniable essence? It could be peace, freedom, certainty, solidity. Hold that word. Let that sensation fill you. It is your anchor and your key. And now, with that sensation, with that word held gently in your awareness, begin to bring your attention back to the physical sensations of your physical form, the feeling of the ground beneath you, the air on your skin. Draw a slow, deep breath, breathing in the air of your new reality. And when you are prepared, you can open your eyes. Open your eyes. Nothing in the room has transformed, and yet everything is different. The negotiation is concluded. The agreement is authorized. The lock is engaged. Welcome home. From this instant forward, you function as the steward of your new reality. A steward doesn't generate. A steward nurtures what already exists. The architect designs the construction. The construction crew constructs it, but it is the steward who walks the corridors, maintains the structure, and guarantees it flourishes. The time for architectural drawings and heavy machinery is concluded. You are now in the era of stewardship. This is a critical shift in identity, from the effort of becoming to the ease of being. Here are the 3 core practices of a reality steward, the tools you will utilize not to achieve your breakthrough, but to manage the reality that has already arrived. The first and most immediate tool is termed conscious acknowledgement. For weeks, months, maybe years, you have been desperately seeking indicators, hoping for evidence. That phase is finalized. Now, instead of passively noticing indicators and sensing a fleeting sense of hope, you will actively and consciously acknowledge them to accelerate the final stabilization of your new reality. The scientific principle here is a direct application of the observer effect. Your focused, calm, and knowing attention is the most powerful stabilizing force in the quantum universe. By consciously approving an indicator, you are adding your coherent energy to the wave function of your new reality, causing it to collapse more rapidly and more completely into physical form. You are, in essence, starving the previous reality of any residual attention, any lingering energy. You are communicating to the universe. Yes, that one. finalize that one. Here's how you execute it. The instant you notice an indicator, a resonance of your intention in conversation, a symbol, a synchronicity, or even a piece of the dissolution that verifies the old is gone, you will pause. Do not allow the instant to rush by. Halt what you are doing. Draw one deep, calm breath. Then, either internally or spoken softly aloud, you will state the command. Acknowledgement received. Stabilization sequence authorized. Thank you. That's it. 3 simple, powerful phrases. Acknowledgement received is your recognition that you have witnessed the signal. Stabilization sequence authorized is your command as the owner of this reality, granting it permission to secure faster. Thank you is the frequency of gratitude for a process that is already finalized. The most common error here is reverting to the old energy of the seeker. You witness an indicator and you become overly excited, a jolt of giddy, almost desperate energy. Oh my God, it's functioning. It's finally functioning. This emotional peak, while feeling pleasant, is actually the energy of someone who is still surprised by success, someone who still, deep down, doesn't believe it's theirs. It communicates a subtle frequency of shock, not of knowing. The accurate energy of a steward is calm, sovereign acknowledgement. Envision a CEO who requested a report. When the report arrives on their desk, they don't leap up and down with excitement. They simply scan it, nod, and state, "Excellent, proceed." That is the energy of conscious acknowledgement. It is detached. It is certain. It is final. It is the quiet confidence of the one in authority. The second practical tool is termed timeline filtering. Now that your new reality is securing, you will still experience the lingering thoughts, habits, fears, and memories of the previous reality. These are not indicators of failure. They are not evidence that you are being pulled back. They are simply quantum reverberations, informational remnants from a deprecated timeline. They are like phantoms in the machine. They have no actual creative power or momentum unless you grasp hold of them and infuse them with your own life force, your own attention. Struggling against them is an error. Fearing them is an error. Timeline filtering is the art of handling them with grace and efficiency. The scientific principle is that these reverberations are just data transmissions from a wave function that is no longer dominant. Think of it like an old email archive. You can observe the subject lines of past dramas and old worries, but you don't need to open the emails and absorb them again. They are simply part of the record of a journey you have already finalized. What is the very first acknowledgement indicator you will consciously approve utilizing this new tool? Beginning the instant this video concludes. Claim it. Precision generates power. The methodology for timeline filtering is this. When a fear from the previous reality emerges, a worry about resources, a pang of isolation, a doubt about your capabilities, the first step is not to resist it. Do not push it away. Do not affirm over it. Simply, calmly label it. In your consciousness, you state data from timeline B, or archive, or reverberation. By labeling it, you refuse to identify with it. You objectify it. It is not you. It is data. It is an artifact from a different system. After labeling it, you acknowledge it without emotional engagement. You observe the thought, the sensation, and you nod internally. You don't need to analyze it or process it. Its appearance is not a complication to be resolved. You simply acknowledge its presence as you would a piece of unsolicited mail before you discard it in the recycling container. Then you gently and deliberately return your focus to the sensation state of your new reality, the one you embodied in our ceremony. You return your attention to the anchor word you identified. That's it. Label, acknowledge, refocus. The most common error is to panic. A fear emerges and the consciousness screams, "Oh no, I'm thinking a negative thought. I'm going to ruin my materialization." This fear grants the reverberation tremendous energy. It's like discovering an old, unplugged lamp and becoming terrified that it will somehow activate. So you frantically plug it into the outlet to examine if it functions, thereby granting it the very power you feared it possessed. These reverberations cannot pull you back unless you make them your dominant focus. Your new reality now has more mass, more momentum, a stronger gravitational pull. These reverberations are just tiny asteroids floating in the wake of a planet. Allow them to drift by. You are the planet. The third tool, and perhaps the most profoundly transformative, is the integration ritual. The purpose of this tool is to make your new reality feel mundanely normal, because your subconscious consciousness accepts as real only that which is mundane and repetitive. Miracles and grand occurrences are, by definition, exceptions. They are outside the bounds of your accepted reality. Realities are inside it. The objective is to transform your intention from a miracle you are hoping for into a simple reality of your existence. We accomplish this by anchoring it in a small, repeatable physical action. The scientific principle is rooted in neurobiology and subconscious programming. The subconscious learns through repetition, not through intensity. By executing a small daily ritual associated with your new reality, you are transmitting a constant, low-level signal to your deeper consciousness that states, "This is who we are now. This is just what we execute." It bypasses the critical faculty of the conscious consciousness and constructs a new baseline of normalcy. Here is how you generate your integration ritual. You will select one aspect of your intended reality and generate a small, 5-minute daily ritual around it that has the energy of mundane maintenance. If your new reality involves abundant resources, your ritual might be to invest 5 minutes every morning organizing your financial tools or tracking a single expense in a spreadsheet. Not with the energy of, "I hope I receive resources," but with the energy of course I manage my resources efficiently. It's mundane. It's simple. It's what a resourced individual executes. If your new reality is a new, fulfilling vocation, your ritual might be to invest 5 minutes organizing your workspace at the conclusion of each day. Not to attract a vocation, but because that is the habit of a focused and successful professional. If your breakthrough is a loving partnership, your ritual might be to prepare your bed every morning, consciously smoothing the pillow on the other side of the bed, not out of longing, but as a simple, matter-of-fact preparation for a reality that is already a given. The action itself is almost irrelevant. The power is in the energy behind it. This is just my baseline. The biggest error is to attempt to make the ritual feel magical or exciting. You must resist the urge to load it with intense emotion or grand visualizations. The complete point of the integration ritual is to strip the intention of its specialness. Specialness implies separation. Normalcy implies integration. You are not attempting to manifest a miracle. You are attempting to live a reality. So you make it mundane. You make it a routine. You make it something you just execute, like maintaining your hygiene. This quiet, unassuming daily practice is what ultimately convinces the deepest components of your being that the transformation isn't approaching. It's already here. You now possess the understanding and the tools of a reality steward. You can recognize the quantum finalization sequence in the wild. You have walked through the ceremonial fire of acceptance, and you now hold the precise, practical methodologies to nurture your new reality into complete, stable materialization. You have accomplished it. The work of generation, of becoming, of striving for the breakthrough is finalized. You have moved through the most difficult and misunderstood phase of manifestation, and you have arrived. This is an instant for profound acknowledgement. The individual who initiated this video is not the same individual listening to these words now. You have been fundamentally transformed because your very foundation has shifted from hope to knowledge. But securing a new reality is like arriving in a new country. You have your visa. Your passport is stamped. You are officially a resident, but you do not yet speak the language fluently. You don't know the local customs. You haven't yet learned to navigate the subtle cultural nuances that separate a tourist from a native. The next phase of mastery is not about attainment. It is about integration. It's about embodiment on a level you have not yet considered. The question is no longer, how do I arrive there? The question now becomes, how do I live from here? How do you recalibrate your identity, your deep-seated habits, your connections, and your moment-to-moment decisions to not just survive in this new, high-frequency environment, but to thrive in it, to become its master? You have opened the vault and secured its contents. But that vault was just one chamber in a vast mansion you now own. The journey is not concluded. It has genuinely, finally, just commenced. When a new, high-frequency reality secures, it functions like a star, exerting an immense gravitational pull. Everything in its orbit must either rise to match its frequency or be expelled. This includes your thoughts, your beliefs, your connections, and even the cells in your physical form. This process generates what I term integration turbulence. It is the invisible pressure that your new reality puts on everything in your existence that is not yet a vibrational match. If you don't manage this process consciously, you can be pulled back into the previous timeline's gravitational field. It's like a cosmic undercurrent. The previous reality may be deprecated, but its patterns, its reverberations, its seductive familiarity still exert a pull. The art of quantum integration is the single most important skill you must now develop. It is the key to making your breakthrough permanent, to solidifying your new state so completely that the previous reality loses all of its magnetic charge. This is how you utilize your current breakthrough not as a destination, but as the launchpad for the next quantum transformation and the one after that. If this transmission is touching something in you, something that feels like recognition rather than learning, then I invite you to subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this space, to this ongoing conversation. Because what we're building here isn't content consumption. It's a collective field of individuals who are actively choosing to live from quantum truth rather than conditioned limitation. The more of us who embody this, the more the dimension reflects that reality. Subscribe and activate all notifications, because our next video, Quantum Integration Decoded, how to anchor your new reality permanently, is the critical next step. You've secured it. Now you must learn to live there. In that transmission, we will examine the three primary forms of integration turbulence: identity fragmentation, relational dissolution, and energetic depletion. I will provide you with a clear, actionable framework for becoming a genuine master of your new timeline, guaranteeing it doesn't just maintain, but that it flourishes and expands. After we have established that essential foundation, we will explore the advanced concept of why your breakthrough is more fragile than you recognize and how to protect it. A deep examination into the subtle ways we can unconsciously destabilize our new reality and how to construct a quantum fortress around your materialization. This is the path of genuine mastery. It is a path of ever-expanding capability and consciousness. You arrived to this video sensing the anxiety of the final instance. You felt the agonizing pendulum swing between certainty and doubt. You were depleted from the effort of maintaining the frequency, questioning if you had executed something incorrectly. Before you leave, I want you to drop one word in the comments below that captures the energy, the intention, the transformation you're choosing from this instant forward. Just one word. This isn't casual interaction. This is your energetic signature to the quantum field. Your declaration that you've received this transmission and you're choosing to live from it. Drop that word now. Let it be your anchor. You depart as the calm, confident steward of a reality that is already yours. Your work now is not to strive, but to inhabit, not to hope, but to know. You are not the vault technician, listening anxiously for the clicks. You are the owner of the mansion, walking through chambers that have always belonged to you. Go forward and live from this place of certainty.